My name is Shannon Gilmore, and I am so excited to be here with you because I am your peer support mentor. I'm here for you. Oh, I'm here to support you, but I'm not here to support your ego because I'm not here to waste our time. Your time is precious, so is mine. I'm here to help you kick your ego in all its assets to get you unstuck. And I'm so excited to help you do that. Now, I know you didn't come here for another worksheet, another therapy session, or another Instagram quote telling you to just love yourself more. No, you came here for real results. You came here to kick your ego in the behind because you've tried all of that and you're still stuck and you don't know how to get yourself unstuck. I feel your frustration and I get it. You've read the books, you've done the counseling sessions, you've talked until you're blue in the face. I've been there too. And if you're being honest, I can tell that you're tired of being the smartest person in the room about your pain, but still waking up to the same cycle, feeling nobody has heard you or there's no help available to what is actually is the problem. Well, this is where we stop walking around the problem. We get to the root of the problem here. We're going to get on our hands and knees and we are going to dig. We're not going to dig around the issue. We're going to dig it out and we're going to find it and we are going to pull it out. Now, this is not therapy. This is not mindset coaching. This isn't about giving you the coping skills so that you can tolerate life that secretly makes you miserable. This is about taking your life back by blowing up the part of you that keeps sabotaging you, your ego. And we're going to teach you how to live free from it. What we do here is not comfortable. It's not polite. We're here to put our egos on notice. And that's not the kind of thing that you can do with 1 foot in and 1 foot out. This is spiritual heart surgery. This is spiritual detox. This is whatever you want it to be so long as it stays truthful. So this is where we drag the lies into the light, we break the patterns, and we rebuild you from the inside out with God's help. You're here because you are done settling and you're done coping when what you really need is transformation. Now, you don't just want to feel better. You want to be different. You want to wake up clearly aligned, stretch your arms, and just feel free, like you're no longer attached to whatever is dragging you down, ruled by the same old patterns, the same old shame, the same old story. Now, this is not a cookie cutter program. This is a one of a kind experience where you will be confronted, you will be challenged, and we're going to allow you to give yourself permission to be called to your higher calling with love, with truth, and with no excuses. There is no judgment, no shame, only a firm but fair approach here that refuses to cater to self-pity. And if you're willing to go all the way in, like I know you are, you're going to feel lighter, you're going to feel free, and you're going to feel more of yourself than you've ever felt before. And I know that sounds really good to you right now. You may already feel lighter, like you can breathe with ease because someone gets you. So if you are ready to stop managing your pain and start dismantling the systems that keep you in it, welcome, my dear. Welcome to this workshop. This is your VIP mastermind because this isn't for everyone. You are here because you are ready. So let's just get to work. Welcome to phase 1 of your Mastermind Holistic Mentorship and Grounding Workshop. Phase 1 is where everything changes. This is where we stop sugarcoating, stop circling the same problems, and finally get honest about what's really standing in your way, your ego. Now, I know you already know this, but we are not here to rehabilitate you. We are here to rehabilitate your ego. Your ego is the one that needs domestication, not you. Your ego is going to have to be re-educated on some things, and it's going to have to learn how it's going to be from here on out. And with that comes repetition. With re-education comes unlearning, and unlearning means to go over things continuously until it becomes habitual. You're going to learn how your ego has been running your life, sabotaging relationships, keeping you stuck in the same cycles, and convincing you that suffering is safer than change. We're going to shine a light on the lies your ego has been telling you and integrate modalities and coping strategies that you haven't learned anywhere else. And we're going to implement this for a month because a month is the length of time that you need to get things done. So this is why things feel so true in your life because the ego has been telling you and gaslighting you all along. So we're going to help you finally stop fighting the wrong battles. Now, this is not a therapy session where you just talk it out. This is an excavation. We're going to dig deep, like I said before. We're going to name what's hidden. We are going to strip away the mask that keeps you repeating the same pain over and over again. So what can you expect? You're going to have some real honesty and clarity because you're going to see yourself clearly here. Maybe even for the first time, without shame, without judgment. You're going to have immediate clarity. You're going to discover exactly how your ego hijacks your decisions and emotions and how to stop it in real time, like right now. You're going to have action over theory, which every insight you will receive will be followed by a tangible step. You'll leave knowing what to do next. Your takeaway from phase 1 is power, the power to catch ego in the act and stop it. Call out the lies and make choices from a place of truth instead of fear. You're going to walk away lighter, sharper, and ready to start living without ego running the show. So let's begin. Phase 1 process. You've been told your ego is the enemy. You've been told to fight it, crush it, ignore it, transcend it. But here's the thing no one wants to admit. Your ego is not some sort of monster hiding in the closet. Your ego is you. It's hiding behind your self-awareness. It's the most scared part of you, the one that would burn your entire life down just so you never have to feel unsafe. But it's not protecting you. It's protecting itself. It's hell-bent on self-preservation. See, ego feels like it's your friend, but no, it's not. Ego has no friends. It's an entity that is bent on isolation because it feels safer that way. There is someone within you who is your true friend. He is the light within you, and he will protect you just as fiercely as your ego, but his ways are more subtle. The ego hides behind you to survive. The light within you allows you to hide yourself within the light, to become one with the light. See, your ego is your addict, and it's addicted to being in charge. It's a control freak and an attention junkie. Think about it. Your ego doesn't want you to be happy. It wants you to feel in control. It gives you a false sense of power. It's the false prophet of revelation. When it is running the show all along, happiness is where the light resides because the light is happiness and joy. Now, society has taught us that we can do things on our own, that we are our own human being. Well, this is a lie from the ego. We have a duality within us. It's a dual presence, the ego which thrives on separation, and the light which calls you back into oneness with a unity within him. See, that's why you keep sabotaging your peace. That's why you'll ruin a perfectly good day just because you weren't validated the way that you wanted. That's why you'll pick fights, scroll for hours, ghost opportunities, all while telling yourself you're protecting your energy. You're not protecting anything. You're getting high. Every time you play the victim, every time you tell the story about who hurt you, every time you choose resentment over forgiveness, your ego gets that fix. And here's the worst part. Your ego doesn't even care that you're miserable in life. It just wants to stay in charge. Why? Because if it's not in charge, someone else is. Not you, but the light within you, God Almighty, who created you. Your ego will manipulate and gaslight you, lead you to believe you are making your own decisions, then to admit defeat. Why? Because there are only two ways to live, from the ego or from the light. The ego keeps us in the dark to our own behaviors because it is of the darkness. Righteous living is of the light, and living this way isn't what your ego has convinced you it is. It has convinced you to believe lies about God so that it will not be overpowered by the light and go into its rightful place of obscurity, nothingness, dormancy. See, you cannot destroy the ego. Only the light can. And how that happens is for you to live your life according to the light by making proper choices. So we're going to teach you God's method of living in this workshop. This is how we overcome the ego, because the gaslighting needs to stop. The ego thinks from the left side of your brain, and your right side of the brain is where you are free from logic and are creatively free to think outside the box and past the physical limitations of this world. The ego is rooted in the flesh, the physical nature, and thrives there, convincing you that if you do not do what the ego says, you're going to die. That's how primitive this thing is. It's so primitive, the egoic nature has its roots in the Garden of Eden. It's the characteristic of the enemy, the one who is and always will be against God. God tells us it is the natural nature of man to be narcissistic, even though narcissistic isn't a label in the Bible. But it is our natural nature only because the enemy got to Eve first before Adam could express his love for her. The enemy's nature is against God, and that is our egoic nature. It would rather keep you angry, lonely, bitter, broke than to let you face yourself and face the reality that you are damaging your own life and are in the dark about it. And you know what's really wild about this? Your ego loves your healing journey. Oh yeah, it loves that you're sitting right here with me right now. It loves your books, your therapy sessions, your podcast binges, because as long as you're working, quote unquote, working on yourself, you don't have to change. You get the rush of insight without risking any action. It feels like progress, but it's actually procrastination. That's the sneaky trick our ego plays on us. So your eyes never turn towards the light. So I'm not here to make you feel better about that. I'm here to make you get honest about it. Because if we're not going to tell the truth here, then what are we even doing? The truth is your ego has been running your life. And until you decide to call it out, you'll keep running the same patterns on repeat. This is called taking responsibility, as we're not going to give in to shame and guilt. Now, we don't know what we don't know, so it's okay. The ego is such a trickster, it will have you keep praying for a breakthrough while secretly making sure you never have to take the step that would actually change things. So, here's what we're going to do. Every time you catch yourself in blame, in victim mode, in self-pity or egoic nature, such as jealousy, rage, and doubt, I want you to whisper to yourself, my ego is getting high right now. Just say it. Your ego is a junkie. Say it until it makes you laugh. This is your ego. It's a pathetic little weasel, and you are not laughing to demean it. You are here to put some distance between you and it, and laughing is a way of putting you at ease. Laughing is not mocking. It is seeing something for what it is and believing you are better than how you have been living. There's an aha moment in that. The moment you call out your ego, the buzz starts to wear off. You start getting clear. And then you ask yourself this: what would I have to admit about myself to be free from this? Your answer? I'm not living in the light. You don't have to write an essay. Just be real with yourself. Just write the first thing that comes to your mind. Then, here's where it gets sharp. You do one thing that proves that you are capable of living in the light and conducting yourself from the light. Write it down and do it. That's how you take back control. Now, how you do this? Well, let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 8. Love is patient, love is kind, it is not rude, it does not boast, it's not self-seeking, it does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth, it always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres, love never fails. This scripture is the definition of unconditional love. It is how God Almighty treats us, and it is how you must treat yourself so that you can also treat others this way through this scripture, because this is not just a state of feeling, it's a state of being. So in what ways has your ego overridden this law within you? When you catch yourself living from the egoic nature, don't turn to self-pity, shame, and guilt. Turn away from the negative feelings by just making the choice to love yourself more through heavenly kindness and compassion. Next, I want you to look for the lies that you're believing. Every time you spiral, every time you feel the victim story coming on, just stop and ask yourself, Where's the lie in this story? Because there is always a lie in the story your ego tells you. Remember, the ego is jonesing for a fix, so it will lie to you. Find it, replace it with one simple truth, and then act like that truth is already real, even if you don't feel it yet. For example, your ego tells you not to do something because everyone will laugh at you, especially if you fall on your face. Well, expose the lie, as that is an overgeneralization. You cannot possibly know everyone. Anyone who watches you and sees you fall, well, they may help you, not hinder you, as they may honor you, as they are willing to try and brainstorm with you to get better for the next time. See, the ego has a defeatist mentality, so let go of the shame attached to the lie. You are calibrating yourself to the new you, the light that is at the end of the tunnel. The ego keeps us in a state of tunnel vision. When you seek the light, well, you do find it, because the light is your self-awareness. The awareness to know you have a duality within you, that through your free will choice, you can live like one or the other. You can live in freedom with God or in bondage with the enemy. So, if you really want to starve your ego, do what it hates. Not because you're punishing yourself into obedience, but because that is the only way you will liberate yourself from the bondage. Do something wonderful for God in the name of love. Do something wonderful for yourself and for others with no strings attached. Every single day, do something that makes your ego squirm. What does that look like? Well, apologize first. Let somebody else have the last word. Give without posting it online. Say, I'm not sure about that, or I don't know, instead of bluffing your way through it. Do something small that proves your ego isn't in charge anymore. And when you get triggered, celebrate. Yeah, celebrate. Because that trigger is not proof that you're broken. It's proof that you just found the next thing God wants to set you free from. Thank God for that. Literally, say it out loud. Thank you for showing me this wound. Then sit with it, journal it, pray over it. But don't stop there. Ask Jesus, where does this lie come from? When did I start believing this, God? Because the moment you locate the root, you can rip it out. And I'm not here to let you keep dancing with your ego like it's your date to the prom. I'm here to get you to divorce yourself from your ego, because Jesus is your groomsman, not the darkness that is disguised as ego. It's time to cut the ties with the lies that keep you small, safe, and suffering. We'll do that with God's help. And yes, it's going to feel like humiliation at first, but real humility often does, because ego dies loudly. It's going to scream at you, telling yourself you're losing yourself. Just look at the story of the demons that Jesus casted out of the man at the beginning of his ministry. They obeyed Jesus when Jesus said, come up out of him, but not before causing the man pain, as the man shrieked, and they tossed the man on the ground, embarrassing him in front of the crowd. Yeah, our ego is going to swing at you. Yeah, it swings at us every time we do something good for ourselves. And it may even use a different situation than we think, as we think what we're going through has nothing to do with what we went through before with our ego. So stay aware. Be aware of your emotional surroundings. Do not let your spiritual eyes become sleepy. There's no going back into the state of ignorance on autopilot. You are now aware of the responsibility, and you have to take responsibility for yourself, because no one's going to do this for you. And this is difficult at first, and yes, it is work. This is a show of love to put in effort to reach the goal. So you want life to get better? Well, this is it. You love God? Well, this is the only way it can be done. Stop looking for the miracle work outside of God. This is the miracle work. This is the only way you're going to set yourself free. But not my way. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. This workshop sets you in the direction of where you need to go. This is a source of help, and I'm here anytime you need. But at the end of the day, The work you put into changing your life has to come from the teachings of Jesus. And I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. You're not losing yourself. It may feel like that because the egoic nature is what you have mostly known. It's your familiar pattern. It has been what you have been used to as you identified yourself with the ego. So letting go is going to be difficult, and that's okay. The ego has been running the show your whole entire life. And you have to ask yourself, have you mistaken ego for quote unquote me all along? And if that's true, who would you be if you let your ego go? Let go of the darkness and you'll become enveloped by the light. That's a promise. 3 forbidden truths about the ego. Everyone feels these, but no one dares to say them out loud. Number 1, your ego isn't your enemy, it's your addict. Your ego is hooked on survival, not happiness. It will sabotage love just to feel safe. It's a junkie getting high on dopamine. It will destroy opportunities just to stay in control. And the scariest part, it feels good while doing it. So make the shift. Not cold turkey, just make one small radical move. When you catch yourself playing the victim, over-explaining or blaming, whisper to yourself, my ego is getting high right now. Call it out. Don't fight it. Just name the hit it's chasing. Awareness actually kills the buzz. Number 2, ego would rather be miserable than wrong. You'd rather sit in suffering than admit that you caused it. Ego would rather lose the relationship, the dream, the peace, than to let you see yourself shine. This isn't stubbornness. This is not procrastination. This is survival mode. And if you thrive outside of the ego, if ever you did thrive outside the ego, the ego doesn't follow you to kingdom glory, which is joy and happiness and peace. No. Where does it go then? Well, it has to lay down automatically and play dead. It goes into the state of dormancy. Just like, how opposites I'm sitting, I'm not standing right now. So standing is in a rightful place of dormancy. Ego is ignored while you glorify God's name and you are magnified in God's presence. So let's make this shift. When you're stuck in drama or pain, ask yourself out loud, what would I have to admit about myself to be free from this? Write the first answer you get. No censoring, no excuses. Then do one thing that proves you're accepted the new insight. Okay? So just follow through. Like, don't sit there and talk and talk and talk and talk. You got to follow through. So make yourself accountable and hold yourself to one action that proves that you've accepted what you believe now to be true. And number 3, your ego loves your healing journey. Oh, yes, it does. The endless processing, the journaling, the therapy, it eats it up. Because as long as you're working on yourself, you don't have to change. Ego hides behind self-awareness to avoid action. So make the shift. Give yourself a 24-hour rule. Every insight you have must be followed by a bold action within one day. See, insight without action is just ego entertainment. There is a reason why your ego does what it does, and it is all fear-based. Once you see the insight, you actually meet that with the opposite, love and compassion. So here's 3 underground healing Here's 3 underground healing hacks to help you. Number 1, swap why me for where's the lie. Ego thrives on self-pity because it keeps you passive. Flip it by hunting for the lie you're believing. This is a practical shift here, because the moment you start spiraling, ask yourself, where's the lie to this story? Find it, replace it with one simple truth. Act as if the truth is already real, even if you don't yet feel it. And when you find yourself asking, why me? This is so unfair. Well, start asking, why not me? What is God directing my attention to? Why is he wanting me to know this right now? See, you are ready to learn the tough stuff, so don't shy away from it. Your light is always bigger than your ego. The light within you, the Holy Spirit, raised Jesus from the dead. This is what is happening to you now. You are going through a type of resurrection, a spiritual awakening. You are spiritually coming alive in the truth. You are coming up out of the shadows of that valley of death where ego lingers. So the second hack, speak your ugly out loud in private. Ego hides in silence. See, you can't heal what you don't confess. So confess to God, expose your ego to him. This is not about shame, as this is not to shame you. This is to bring the liar to the power of God. You have been held hostage for so long, prevented from your prayers properly reaching God. So now you're taking back your inheritance by exposing what wants to remain hidden from God. What is exposed by the light disintegrates. So when you remain mindful of who you are and who you stand for, you are able to make the shift away from egoic living and stand in unconditional love for yourself and for everyone else. There's no anger, no regret. Just when you stand before God, you are exposing yourself and saying, here I am, God. I have been blinded to this and I expose it to you, so I no longer live in lies. I am above that because you made me worthy to live like you. So here's the radical shift that you can make. Write a letter to your ego exposing some of your rawest thoughts. Every jealous thought, prideful thought, fearful thing. Read it to God out loud. You'll hear how ridiculous some of it sounds. Then burn it as a release to send those thoughts to the abyss so that they will not hurt you or become a stumbling block to anyone else. And thirdly, make your ego do something it hates daily. Ego hates being wrong. It hates being ignored. It hates losing control. So make that your practice. Stay in control. Pay attention to the loving side of you. Allow yourself to be wrong and don't judge yourself. That's how you deal with the ego. So here's the shift. Pick one ego starve challenge daily. Apologize first to somebody. Let someone else have the last word. Give without receiving credit. Saying I don't know instead of, pretending that you do know. Watch how quickly your ego starts detoxing. So here's a question I want to leave you with. If ego has been running your life, have you mistaken your ego for you all along? And what would be left if you let your ego go? This is your Moses moment where Moses said, let my people go. Your ego is the Pharaoh and you're saying, let me go. Get excited with your life by recognizing you are adopted by God as you are adopting his character. The character of Jesus, who is unconditionally loving, who has no ego. You're here because you've heard the voice inside your head that will not shut up. The one that keeps telling you you're not enough, that you have to prove yourself, that you have to work harder, do more, be more. Well, I want you to imagine this. Jesus alone in the wilderness, hungry, thirsty, weak. And here comes the voice, not some red cartoon devil, but a voice that sounds familiar. It sounds like you. Because it's your ego. That's the part that no one wants to say out loud. Yeah. Just sit with that for a minute. That devil that we picture tempting Jesus wasn't necessarily an outside figure with horns and fire. No, it was the echo of every human thought that screams survival, safety, and significance. See, the ego doesn't wear a cape. It wears your own face. And here's the kicker. Jesus didn't go out into the wilderness to have a cosmic duel. No, he went out there to face our ego. Ego has many faces, my friend, but one voice. Just think about it. Jesus was clothed in our sins, and the enemy who tempted him in the desert was that voice that wore that clothing. And that voice is what causes us to sin. Now the enemy, it has a name. It's not Satan, it's ego. Jesus was faced with our ego, and as much as the ego is our personal mentor, whoever we want to call it, it's our person. it speaks uniquely to each and every one of us, but there are only 3 ways that it can lead every one of us astray, and that's a familiar point. And Jesus showed us how to identify each familiar point and respond appropriately to each temptation. Every temptation was a trap about identity, not about action. Turn these stones into bread wasn't about food. It was about proving, if you really are the Son of God, show me. Sounds familiar. Your ego says that same thing. If you're really worthy, prove it. If you're really lovable, work harder. If you're really spiritual, perform better. It's exhausting. So the first thing I need you to hear is that you've been arguing with your ego like it's an enemy, and it is. But your ego only survives if you keep the argument going. So stop it. It will tempt you 3 times. Temptation always comes in 3s. See, Jesus didn't debate. Jesus didn't sit down and negotiate with that voice. No, he answered once, spoke truth, and moved on. And when the tempter came again, he spoke once, again, moved on. 3 times this happened. So your first move today, speak once, move once. Don't give the voice an open mic. Close your eyes for a second. Imagine the last time you were triggered. The last time your mind said, you're falling behind, you're going to fail, you're not enough. Now hear yourself answering once, I am enough because God already says I am. Now feel the silence that follows. That silence is power. That's the wilderness. Yes, it is uncomfortable, but it's where you take back control. So here's your first hack. Next time ego shows up with a demand, answer it once and then move. Respond appropriately. It is written that man cannot live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. Matthew chapter 4, verse 4. Yes, use that exact scripture. And physically move your body. Get up, walk to another room, shake out your hands, change your posture. This isn't a spiritual hack, it's neurological. You're rewiring the loop. You don't feed the thought. You're not giving the attention that your thought needs. So let's talk about the second temptation, the dare. The ego dares you to throw yourself down, to self-destruct, just to see if God will catch you. This is when your mind whispers, push harder, go past your limit, risk everything, see if the universe, see if God really cares. The ego loves to push you to exhaustion, to the edge of burnout, just to make you prove that you are worthy of divine rescue. Well, Jesus' answer was clear. It is also written, do not put the Lord your God to the test. Matthew chapter 4, verse 7. Your answer has to be just as clear. Use this scripture and tell yourself, I am safe without proving it. I am held without jumping. Speak the words that Jesus spoke to the enemy because you are one with Jesus. Own your divine nature. You do not need to prove your worth, not to you, not to anyone, and certainly not to God, who knows exactly who you are already. So here's your second hack. Let me say that again. Here's your second hack. Flip every ego temptation into a signal. When you hear that voice telling you to prove yourself, take it as proof that you already carry that worth. Otherwise, the temptation wouldn't bother showing up. Ego only fights where you're already strong. The temptation is like a neon sign pointing to your inner hidden power. So let's go even deeper. The third temptation is the most dangerous. Ego says, take the shortcut, bow to me and I'll give you everything. Power, status, recognition, whatever you want. This is where most of us get trapped. Ego offers us control. It whispers, well, if you just compromise here, just hustle a little harder, you can have the life that you want. What's the problem? But Jesus doesn't bargain. He doesn't hustle for his kingdom. He already knows it's his. Away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. Matthew chapter 4, verse 10. Here's where we build your muscle, your wilderness muscle. I'm going to ask you to do something uncomfortable. Sit quietly with your ego. Don't respond. Do not give it words. Give it no emotion. Just instead focus on God and give thanks to him. Start naming things that you are grateful for. Look around you. There's something you're grateful for. Thank him even for the temptation, because that helps you to know that the gift of grace is already yours. Scripture tells us that we don't need to do anything because God has already fought the war for us and he's won. Jesus did nothing to overthrow the enemy. He did not respond in the wilderness, nor did he retaliate on the cross. We do not need to do anything contrary to what our ego wants us to believe. See, your salvation comes from God the Most High. The fight has already been won, my friend. And patience, that's what stills the ego. When the ego leaves, the angels will attend to you. Your ego is like a little toddler. It will scream until it realizes you're not picking it up anymore. So this is your third hack. Train in silence daily, just 5 minutes. Sit with God. In the morning, sit quietly with God, and at night. Any quiet time that you have, sit in his peace. See your ego from the eyes of the divine. Build the muscle that lets you sit with your discomfort without caving in. This is what makes you untouchable. And when you can hear ego screaming, still stay rooted, because that's when you become unshakable. Now take a deep breath. I mean a really deep breath. Feel the shift in your chest. That's you stepping out of the argument. That's you choosing truth over chatter. And here's the part that might sting. Maybe you've been fighting the wrong enemy all along. Maybe the devil that you've been wrestling with wasn't out there trying to ruin you. Maybe it was just the untrained mind trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you alive, trying to keep you in control. Because when your ego is in control, you are then separated from God. God tells us that no evil can overtake us except that which is the desire of our hearts. And the ego is the characteristic of the enemy. Either we live for that or we live for Jesus. And to live for Jesus, we adopt a new character. So don't give in to the enemy. Your battle has never been about getting rid of the ego. We can't do that on our own. If we learn instead to hear the ego, answer once with Jesus's words to really truly own who we are, and let the ego melt away, disappear, well, that's freedom. Answer your ego the 3 ways that Jesus did. That's where you step out of the wilderness, not as a victim, but as someone who knows who they are. So let's just recap 3 raw truths about the temptation of Jesus and the ego. Number 1, the wilderness wasn't about the devil. It was about the ego that causes us to sin, confronting Jesus. That's who confronted Jesus. It was us, our natural nature tempting Jesus. And number 2, the devil is just the voice of ego turned up loud. So it's the part of you that says, feed me first. Prove yourself. Rule the world so you'll never feel powerless again. That battle wasn't cosmic, it was personal. And number 3, every temptation was about identity, not behavior. Turn stones to bread wasn't about food, it was about proving who Jesus said he was. Ego is obsessed with proving worth. Jesus didn't take the bait because he already knew his worth. Jesus didn't argue with the ego. He spoke truth and moved on. There was no debates, no negotiating. He shut the voice down with a single clean, sharp truth. See, ego thrives on your attention. The more you argue with it, the more it wins. So here's 3 healing hacks that you can use today. Hack 1, starve the voice by answering it once. Next time your mind whispers, "You're behind. You need to prove yourself." Reply once with your identity in Jesus, as your identity is found in him. Reply with, "It is written that man cannot live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." I am already enough. Then go do something physical. Walk, breathe, slam a door if you need to, but don't sit and argue with yourself. Number 2, flip the script on temptation. When ego prompts you, prove you're valuable, hustle harder, come on, get her done. Take it as a clue that you're already valuable. Treat every tempting thought as a neon sign pointing to where you already carry power, but you only forgot. It is written, do not put the Lord God to the test. And number 3, train your wilderness muscle. Give thanks to God. Offer him your gratitude. Sit still. Feel the itch to check your phone, but don't follow through on it. Feel the need to fix something, to solve something, but stay quiet. Don't move. Learn to hear the voice of the ego without obeying it. And thank God, the one who is the giver of good gifts. It is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. Serve God, worship him by loving yourself and loving others unconditionally. We do not need to fight and prove our worth to the ego. See, the ego is a bully, and Jesus teaches us how to deal with the bully. His ministry is about disciplining ourselves in proper behavior to keep the bully in its place. So what if the devil you've been fighting all this time was just your untrained mind trying to protect? Self-reliance is of the ego. All of us are self-reliant in one area of our lives or another. The fact is, ego thrives on isolation. That's why Jesus went into the desert, so he could actually meet the enemy, because that's where the enemy is found, in isolation. And that's where Jesus met our egoic nature. Well, suddenly the story just hits different now, doesn't it? Knowing that this enemy outside of Jesus is the very nature within all of us. Wow, that's interesting. Jesus dealt with our ego in the desert and on the cross. He literally saved us from ourselves. And through the cross and his ministry, Jesus taught us that we do not have to live as our egos, our natural nature that is against God. We don't have to live like that anymore. We can adopt a new character, the character of heaven. Jesus welcomes us into his family. We are welcomed into his kingdom, but we have to disown the egoic nature. It's about identity shifting from ego to no ego. So here are 3 raw truths about self-reliance hidden in Jesus's temptation story. Number 1, the stones to bread. This is the hustle lie. We secretly believe our worth is measured by how fast we turn pressure into production. Even psychologists mask this with the definition of self-actualization. But we're still worshiping productivity as God. Jesus says man shall not live by bread alone. This was basically calling out our addiction to prove that we can't make it on our own. We can't make things happen on our own. And number 2, this is the temple jump, the watch me syndrome. See, we secretly fantasize about being seen doing something impossible. A silent hunger for applause is what we crave. And science calls this self-efficacy. But deep down, we want to shock the crowd. Ooh, ah. Jesus refused to jump at the direction of the enemy. He refused to perform for validation, which, we love. We crave validation. And we don't like to necessarily perform for validation because it forces us to face how much of our lives is just grind and not a show, or a show and less grind. Number 3, the kingdoms of the world. This is the lone wolf dream. We secretly want control so badly we'll sacrifice intimacy and vulnerability, even morality, to get it. Psychology frames it as autonomy, but really it's our ego screaming, if I had power, I'd never need anyone ever again. Well, Jesus turned down the enemy. He turned this down, as this was him dismantling the myth that ruling everything would heal the ache of the human heart. So here's 3 healing hacks. Number 1, starve the proving instinct. Go 24 hours doing nothing. Do nothing productive and watch the panic rise. Then just let it pass without trying to fix it. Make the shift. Say out loud, I'm still valuable even if no one claps today. This rewrites your nervous system to detach the worth from the output. And number 2, refuse the spotlight test. When you succeed at something, tell no one for 48 hours. No posts, no hints, no humble brags. Make the shift. Whisper to yourself, I do not exist for entertainment. This kills the ego's addiction to external validation before it becomes a full-blown craving. And number 3, give away control on purpose. Once a week, let someone else decide something important, where to eat, what time to meet, how to solve a problem, and commit to honoring that choice. So here's the practical shift in this. Breathe through the discomfort and say, I am safe even when I'm not steering. This dismantles the illusion that control equals survival and builds trust in partnerships. So what if reliance is just fear dressed up as freedom? And this is what Jesus challenged, because we were all isolated. We are all vulnerable in our egos, which is a truth that dismantles the egoic lie that we are safer on our own. Jesus proves otherwise. God protects his own, and it's time to remember who we truly are, don't you think? And now, my friends, we have come to the conclusion of phase 1 of So Over It, your mastermind, ego crunching, ego smashing workshop. How'd you do? Yeah, it was pretty intensive, wasn't it? Yeah, but you managed through it, so right on. Good for you. I'm proud of you. So I want to leave you with the feeling like we've just exposed the real enemy with sharp tools that you can use today to break ego's stronghold. You have just learned 3 valuable truths about your ego and 3 healing methods that you can use today that will set the tone and set the ego apart from you as you lessen the ego's grip. Your ego loves pain. Your ego loves chaos. So you're going to, retreat back to those old patterns again, but that's okay. Just be mindful. The ego loves chaos over peace, and your ego wants you to stay the victim. So 3 ways you can hack the egoic system is to confess, to gain self-control, and make healthy choices rooted in goodness, righteousness. Read the Word of God. Now, we have also discovered that Jesus has provided us a way out. So we don't need to keep working and struggling at overcoming our egoic nature. While, yes, it's important to understand our unrighteous natures, we do not need to keep up with self-help emotional grooming methods for our lifetime. We can turn to Jesus, the teachings of Jesus, as he showed us how to deal with the egoic nature. Self-discipline by thinking of others using unconditional love. When Jesus faced the ego of mankind in the desert, he was teaching us through his self-discipline, through his self-awareness. Jesus knows himself. He knows who he is, and that is what we are discovering too. When we adopt his character of love, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 8, we too are learning to cater to love and not who ego is or who the ego thinks we are. We're learning to disengage from the egoic concepts, the egoic mindset, and the egoic personality, those characteristic traits that are unbecoming of God. See, ego is apathetic or indifferent to love. When we cannot love ourselves, it is impossible to love God fully and completely. It is impossible to live the born-again experience. So you ready for phase 2? Let's do this. Phase 2 is where you stop being ego's puppet and start cutting the strings one brutal liberating slice at a time. In phase 2, this is where we confront and detox. This is where we rip the mask off. No more circling the same pain. No more polite conversations about why you feel the way that you feel. In phase 2, you're going to drag your ego out of hiding and confront it head on. You're going to see how your reactions aren't truth, they're rehearsals, and how your ego has been running the same tired script while you've been calling it personality. You'll learn how to stop feeding the story, to starve the lies, and to Act against the resistance that's been chaining you down. What to expect? Oh, discomfort. Oh yeah, raw honesty. The shock of realizing how much of your life has been ego's theater. And also, you're going to learn clarity, sharper than a knife. Freedom in places you thought were permanently locked. And you're going to have a sense of power you didn't know you even had. Your takeaway from phase 2 is you will know how to break ego in real time. You'll stop reacting on autopilot and start choosing with intention. And once you taste that freedom, there's no going back, my friend. So, you ready? Here we go. You want the secrets? Well, here's what no therapist, no self-help book, no polished guru will tell you. Truth number 1, your ego doesn't want healing, it wants your loyalty. That's why you defend your pain like it's your pet. You don't want to let go of the story because the story makes you feel safe. Even in hell, ego says, at least this is mine. And truth number 2, most of your reactions aren't feelings, they're just rehearsals. Ego has you running the same script over and over, so you think, well, this is just who I am. The real you hasn't spoken in years. And truth number 3, ego thrives on the secret thought that you'll never admit. If I let go of this, who am I without it? See, you fear freedom because freedom means no excuses. And because you've never really known freedom, let's be honest about that. But let's break the locks. The hack number 1, reverse obedience. Do the exact thing your ego resists the hardest. Ego says, don't apologize. Well, apologize. Ego says, stay silent. Well, speak up. Ego says, keep scrolling. Close the darn app. Here's the practical shift. Every time you feel that inner resistance, make note of what you must do. Then do it within 60 seconds. No, give yourself less than that. I'd say 30 seconds, which you keep putting that into practice, you'll get down to 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. This is your act in emotional counterterrorism. Hack number 2, silence the witness. Ego survives because you think something's always watching, always judging. Well, here's the hack. Act like you're invisible, that no one sees you. Dance with no holds barred in your living room. Cry in the car. Tell the truth out loud when nobody's listening. It kills the performance addiction. Practical shift. Each day, do one raw act as if no one could ever see. Journal what fell off when you stopped performing. Because if you can't do this in your own privacy, if you can't do this in the privacy of your own home, then you won't be able to do this in public. And that's where we start. We start small. Do this in private and then work your way up to speaking your truth in public. Okay? Hack number 3, starve the script. Your ego runs on repetition. Same story, same excuses, same loop. So break the pattern by refusing to speak it. No repeating the same old victim lines to friends, no mental reruns before bed. Silence is the ego's famine. Here's the practical shift. Write your go-to excuse on paper. Burn it. And for 30 days, refuse to say it. Replace it with one line of raw truth. That was ego. I choose different. Now here's the razor's edge that you have to walk. What if your ego isn't lying to you? What if it's been your entire identity? If you let that go, who then are you really? No, really, who are you? You think you want healing, but let me tell you the truth. Your ego doesn't want healing. It wants your loyalty. It doesn't care if you're miserable as long as you keep bowing down to the ego. That's why every time you come close to breaking free, ego whispers, wait, not yet. It's safer here in the pain you know. And the crazy part, we listen. See, we defend our pain like it's a family heirloom. You may polish it, protect it, feed it with your excuses. You want out, but you won't let go of the bars because ego has convinced you that the prison is who you are. Yeah, we've all been there. And here's the secret no psychologist wants to say out loud. Most of your reactions, they're not real. They're just rehearsals. Your ego's been running the same script for years. I mean, since forever. It's just how you are. That's what it convinces you to believe. The truth is, you've been living on autopilot. Those fights that you keep having, those triggers you keep falling into, those emotional spirals you keep having that you swear you can't control, those are not the truth. They're rehearsed. Like a bad actor who refuses to leave the stage, your ego keeps performing while the real you sits in the shadows, silent. And you'll feel it. You feel it, don't you? Of course you do. You feel that itch, that suspicion that there's more of you buried underneath all of that noise. That's your soul knocking. And that's the part of you that's been smothered under layers and layers of lies. But ego's smart. It doesn't just trap you with fear. It traps you with identity. The ugliest truth of all, the one you never admit, is this. If I just let this go, if I stop playing this role, who am I without it? That's why you cling to the story, because no story feels better, because no story feels more terrifying than none at all. So let's make it plain. You're not in phase 2 to talk about it. You're in phase 2 to rip that sucker out. You're going to confront the ego and detox from the poison you've been sipping like it's holy water, and yeah, it's gonna hurt. Because detox always hurts. Your ego is going to scream. It's going to tell you you're unsafe, you're stupid, you're wrong. It's going to try to seduce you back into silence, into excuses, into performance. But if you push through, if you actually confront it, the lies start losing the oxygen. So here's how we cut it down. Hack number 1, reverse the obedience. Do the exact opposite of what your ego wants. Ego says, don't apologize. You walk straight up and apologize. Ego says, don't speak. You open your mouth and tell the truth. Ego says, don't move. You get up and move anyway. This is how you break the chain. Not by thinking about it, not by journaling about it, but by slamming your ego's resistance with action. The second you move against it, the power shifts in your ego. Oh, it freaking panics. Hack number 2. This is the silence, the witness. Ego's entire game is performance. It survives because you act like someone's always watching, always judging. Are they? No. That's why you filter your emotions, your words, your choices, because you believe people are watching. You've been living like life's a stage when it isn't, when no one even bought a ticket. Here's the hack. Live like you're invincible. Do the thing you'd never do if somebody were watching. Dance like a fool in your kitchen. Cry out loud even for the walls to shake. Say the truth out loud to an empty room. When you stop performing, ego shrinks, because without an audience, ego dies of starvation. Be comfortable with yourself. So hack number 3, starve the script. Ego runs on repetition. Same lies, same excuses, same reruns, and you keep speaking them like they're gospel. I just can't. That's just who I am. It's not my fault. And the hymn goes on and on. Those lines have become your lullabies, and you wonder why nothing changes. You got to change your mind to change your life. So here's the cheat code. Don't say it, not even once. Not to a friend, not in your head, not in a journal. Silence kills the script. And when you refuse to give those lines breath, the truth finally has space to speak. Now here's the shift. Sharp enough to feel like cheating. The moment you flip resistance into obedience, the moment you stop performing, the moment you silence the script, you'll feel freedom where ego swore you'd feel fear. And the shock, that's the beginning of power, my friend. So let me ask you this. And again, don't answer this quick, just sit with it. Because now maybe this question is becoming more clear to you. What if your ego hasn't just been lying to you? What if it's been your entire identity? And if that's true, what does it mean if you're not your ego at all? Because if you're not your ego, because if you're not your ego, then who are you really? Stay tuned. We're going to get to that later on. You want the truth about ego? Let's spill the tea. Here it is. The ego is not your friend. It's not your personality. It's not just how you are. Ego is the very characteristic of the enemy himself. The spiritual being that fell from grace didn't just stumble into pride. He lost the ability to unconditionally love. That's the root. He turned his heart over to fear, and that fear metastasized into every single negative emotion that exists. Rage, jealousy, bitterness, control, despair, they all have the same root, fear. And what is ego afraid of? Isolation, separation, the terror of being cut off from love, which is exactly what happens when we choose ego over God. We walk away from unconditional love and we step into the void of fear. Think back to your family home. You were born into love. You were meant to thrive in joy, but something happened. Someone's habitual negative behavior, a parent, a sibling, a teacher, a voice of influence, spilled their poison onto you, and you absorbed it unknowingly, naturally. And that's where the shift started. The rebellion inside you met the negativity outside of you, and the ego took the driver's seat. You started favoring fear over joy. You forgot what unconditional love felt like because you were too young to really notice. And once ego tasted fear, it feeds on it like blood. It's a parasite. Ego is corruption. It's not neutral. It's not harmless. It's the twisted reflection of the Godhead. The enemy in the garden made his choice to reject love, to reject light, and to become corruption itself. And with that choice came rage and insatiable hunger to devour what he could no longer be. And that's what ego is doing inside of you. It can't create, it can't love, it can't heal. It can only consume. And it will devour every ounce of joy in your life if you let it. So here's the uncomfortable truth, my friend. The same character, that same corruption is in every single human being because of the fall of Adam and Eve. This isn't just theology, this is reality. The world you live in is wired to keep you in ego. Every ad, every argument, every distraction is designed to feed it. And if you don't face it, if you don't call it out, you're living as a puppet of the very enemy you claim to hate. So what do? You come up out of this world. You face the worldly nature within you. You stop making excuses for your ego and you start recognizing it for what it is. Corruption disguised as self. The only way out is through unconditional love, but you don't get there by pretending. You don't get there by patching over your wounds with positive thinking. You get there by dragging ego into the light, by confronting the lies, by starving it of fear until it has no ground left in you. And here's the kicker: the ego will make you believe it's impossible. That you are your rage, you are your jealousy, you are your shame. But that's the oldest lie in the book. The truth: you are not your ego, you are not corruption, you are not the enemy's image. You are the image of God, but until you face the enemy within, you'll never live like it. So here's the real choice in front of you. Do you keep feeding the ego until it devours you, or do you starve it and step back into the love you were born for? So now I want to share with you some helpful tips to help you manage your ego and walk in self-control. Forewarned is forearmed, and you can make better choices for yourself when you have knowledge behind your belt, right? So you can do this. You will. You got this. You're not alone. But here are 3 hacks that nobody talks about out loud about the ego. Number 1, the ego is the enemy's DNA coded into your humanity. It's not just self-image or pride, it's the echo of Lucifer's fall pulsing in your bloodstream. Every time you defend your ego, you defend the enemy's corruption living inside of you. Yeah, there is truth to this. There is something going on that the churches don't tell us. But right now, all we need to know is this is a duality within us. It comes to us from Adam and Eve through their fall. And we can feel that corruption inside of us, that part of us that loves our pain because it gives us identity, but we don't know why. We want to live for God, but we don't know how. So we're learning how to do that. Number 2, the ego craves your suffering because suffering is the only way it feels alive. Ever wonder why you replay worst case scenarios in your head or you sabotage the good in your life? That's not the trauma alone. That's the ego using your fear as food. That's the enemy causing chaos. Psychologists call it self-sabotage, but let's name it right. It's demonic appetite masquerading as personality. And number 3, your ego wants worship more than peace. It will pick drama over calm, conflict over harmony, because attention is oxygen. Ego is allergic to silence because silence is where God speaks, and that terrifies the ego. It knows it gets exposed the minute you sit still long enough to see the truth. That's why your ego often accompanies you in your prayer time, and you don't get what you want because your ego is getting answered, not you. So here are the hacks that go along with this. Number 1, starve the ego by choosing silence over self-defense. The ego loves to explain, justify, and prove. So next time someone calls you out, don't argue, don't explain, say nothing. Watch your ego squirm and shriek inside. That's the enemy losing its grip in real time. The practical shift is when you're accused, practice radical The practical shift when you are accused, practice radical silence. It feels like death because it is death for your ego. And number 2, flip fear into exposure instead of protection. Ego hides your shame in the dark. Drag it into the light. Say the thing you're most afraid to admit out loud to God, to a trusted witness. Ego thrives in secrets. Break the silence and you break its spine. Number 3, confessing your sins to God actually breaks the contract of you staying a silent witness and enabling your ego. Here's the practical shift. Once a week, confess something your ego swore you'd never say. The secret fear, that ugly thought, put it out there in the open. Burn ego fuel before it burns you. Burn the ego's fuel before it burns you. Starve the drama by giving the ego nothing to feed on. Ego feeds on reactions, yours and theirs. Don't give it the satisfaction. No texts fired back, no facial expressions, no energy leaked. A flat line kills drama. The devil can't play with what you won't hand over. So the practical shift is when you're baited into reaction, go stone cold, zero response. Treat it like a scam call. Watch how quickly ego loses its power when it can't get a rise out of you. Your ego is not just some psychological construct to be managed. It's the enemy's last foothold in you. Every time you protect it, you side with corruption. Every time you starve it, you reclaim your soul. And now you've got to ask yourself, what if the very me that I've been defending all these years was never me at all? And that begs the question, if you're not your ego, then who are you? You are one with God as you are his son or his daughter, and this is now your time to shine. So let me just stay on this and let's just nurture this for a bit, because it's time to put our egos on notice here. You've been told your ego is a necessary part of self, right? Yeah. That it's your sense of identity, your protection, the thing that helps you navigate this world. Well, that's the sanitized version, the textbook version, the safe version. The truth is your ego is the enemy's fingerprint stamped on your soul. It's not you. It's the parasite living inside of you, borrowing your voice, hijacking your fears, and convincing you it's your personality. And the psychologist won't say it because it would flip the whole profession on its head. The ego is not your friend. The ego is the devil in disguise. I am convinced that this is the grand delusion that swayed the elect, if it were possible, that Jesus mentions. Just sit with that. The enemy who fell from grace, the one who lost unconditional love and twisted himself into fear, left his mark inside humanity. This is the duality within. You inherited it. You wear it every day when you defend yourself, when you rage, when you manipulate, when you shrink. Every negative emotion you have, well, fear is at its root. And fear is the currency of the enemy. So here's the kicker to this. The ego doesn't actually fear death. It fears irrelevance. It fears exposure. It fears that moment when you stop worshiping it. Because ego has been living like a squatter in your soul rent-free, telling you that you are it, you are ego. And if you ever wake up and realize, wait, this isn't me, its entire empire crumbles. And that's why it fights so hard. That's why it reacts. That's why it makes you sabotage good relationships and chase toxic ones. It knows if you stand still long enough to hear God's voice, its masquerade is over. But let me cut deeper. You know why your ego loves your suffering? Because suffering keeps it alive. Every time you spiral in anxiety, every time you replay rejection, every time you let self-hatred narrate your day, your ego gets fed. That's its dinner. Your breakdowns are its banquets. That's why healing feels so hard, because the ego doesn't actually want peace. It wants worship. It wants you scrolling endlessly, comparing yourself, feeding it with shame and pride. And psychologists call it self-sabotage. I call it what it is: spiritual cannibalism. So how do you rid yourself of something that's been breathing through you since birth? You starve it. You suffocate it. You refuse to hand over oxygen. Let me slip you the hacks that no one dares to say. Number 1, stop defending yourself. Every time you explain yourself, justify yourself, argue back, that's your ego. Next time someone accuses you of something, say nothing, not a word. Your ego will scream inside. It will feel like it's dying, fine, whatever. It's going to feel like your whole identity is being ripped apart. That's not you. That's the devil's foothold suffocating. Radical silence is the sharpest blade against ego. And number 2, expose your shame. You want to break ego's spine? Well, say the thing it swore you'd never say. Drag that hidden thought into the light out loud to God. Ego thrives on secrets and shame. Ego thrives on secrets. Shame is its safe house, but confession burns that safe house to the ground. Once you've said it, ego can't use it against you anymore. And here's the irony. What you thought would isolate you actually sets you free. That's how kingdom flips the script. And third, flatline the drama. The ego feeds on reactions like a vampire feeds on blood. It doesn't matter if it's anger, tears, or applause. Attention is oxygen. So next time someone tries to bait you, give them nothing. Go gray rock. No texts firing back, no raised eyebrows. Say what? No energy leak. Treat it like a scam call you don't answer. You'll feel your ego clawing inside, desperate for a fix. That's withdrawal. That's detox, and it's supposed to feel like death because that's part of you that's dying. You're detaching. Now let's get brutally honest here. Every single one of us has made the mistake of mistaking ego for ourselves. I'm still growing. I'm not there fully and completely living my life in full autonomy with God. This is going to take our whole lifetimes, and that's okay. At least we're moving forward, right? We've built entire personalities around pain, entire identities around fear, entire careers around proving something. And the question no one wants to ask is this: if ego is the enemy's DNA in me, then how much of the person I call me has ever actually been me? That's the gut punch. That's the question that rattles everything. Because if the ego is the corruption, then the real you, what's left when you strip it all away, that's the soul Jesus died to reclaim for. That's the you that can actually love, actually live, actually hear God without distortion. But you'll never meet that if you keep worshiping the false one. So here's the dare. For the next 30 days, starve your ego, silence it, and expose it. Flatline it. Let the ego howl like a dying beast and refuse to feed it. Watch what happens. You'll feel stripped, naked, disorientated, but you'll feel something the ego can't give you. Peace. That peace is Jesus showing up. That peace is your soul resurfacing. That peace is the proof that you are not your fear, not your shame, not your enemy. So I want to leave you with some daily exercises you can start implementing today. Stop running, start acting, and refuse to let ego lead. Number one, audit your triggers. Every time you're triggered, pause and ask, is this ego or is this truth? Then take one corrective action. Apologize, release judgment, speak your truth. Number two, radical reversal obedience. Meaning, it's time to identify one action your ego is resisting. Do it immediately. Document your discomfort and the outcome. And number three, the secret alignment. Each day have alignments of your true nature in secret. Perform one act of generosity, one act of forgiveness or love in secret. Ego hates it. That's how you know it's working. Here's a mindfulness challenge. Before bed, write down the moments where you disobeyed ego and how freedom felt. And now I'll leave you with the one line that will haunt you if you're honest enough to sit with it. What if the me I've spent my whole life protecting was never me at all? Phase 2 doesn't end with a bow tied neatly on your ego. It ends with dragging its lies into the light and walking out with clarity that feels like a blade cutting through the fog. You don't leave here with theory, you leave here with truth burned into your bones. The enemy's voice is not your own, and you don't have to obey it, sister or brother. By now, you have felt the sting, the discomfort, the pull of your own old patterns trying to rope you back in. But you've also tasted the silence behind the noise. The silence isn't emptiness, it's freedom. It's the space where peace takes its seat and begins to govern your choices instead of fear. You're no longer stuck in the spin cycle of self-justification, shame, and drama. Jesus died so you can live. You're over it. You're over the challenge of the ego. And when you're over it, you stop bending to the weight of things that were never yours to carry. You stop answering calls from the prison guard when the door's already open. You stop mistaking ego's tantrum for your truth. From here on, life doesn't become perfect, but it becomes possible. Possible to choose harmony over conflict. Possible to let peace dictate your steps instead of panic. Possible to live unshaken even when the world tries to provoke the old you back to life. And that's the whole point. You walk away not lighter because your problems disappeared, but lighter because the false self that kept clutching them to your chest has finally been told to shut up and step aside. That's freedom. That's clarity. That's what's being so over it truly means and feels like. Welcome to phase 3, the ego's last stand. Now, if you thought you were ready for peace before, think again. Phase 3 isn't gentle. It's not soothing affirmations or self-reflection. This is the final confrontation. This is the moment your ego realizes it's about to lose its kingdom inside of you, and it will fight tooth and nail. So here's the truth that nobody wants to tell you. That letting go of ego doesn't feel like relief at first. It feels like betrayal. It feels like grief. It feels like tearing apart a version of yourself that you've been carrying for years. That version was safe. That version was familiar. That version told you you are enough, even while it slowly poisoned your joy. In this phase, we bury that version intentionally, loudly, without apology. You will feel loss, and that's exactly the point. You're also going to confront forgiveness, the kind that hurts, the fake forgiveness where you smile and say, I'm over it, it's fine, while secretly cataloging every wrong will not serve you here. This is raw release. You will give up your right to leverage, your favorite reasons to be angry, your secret satisfaction in someone else's failure, even in your own failure. You will release them to God's justice, as you will release yourself to God's justice and mercy and love through the cross. And you'll do it again and again and again until the sting is gone. And yes, freedom will feel lonely at first. The patterns that made you comfortable, the people who made your dysfunction feel normal, some of them will drop away. The emptiness is terrifying, but in that space, something else will begin to grow. Clarity, peace, and the power to choose life on your terms without ego's interference. This loneliness isn't punishment, it's the clearing before the garden blooms. So what can you expect from phase 3? Expect to feel unsteady, uncomfortable, even defiant. That's proof you're breaking free. Expect to encounter the lies you've believed about yourself and others and watch them collapse under the weight of truth. Expect to leave this phase with a tool set that doesn't just talk about healing, but forces it into your daily life. Confession in the moment, radical reversal of fear, daily symbolic death, and resurrection to the ego. What will you take away from this? You're going to walk away knowing exactly how to starve the ego, how to replace fear with truth and love, and how to reclaim the space inside of yourself that ego has been renting rent-free your whole life. You'll walk away over it, done with defending, justifying, hiding, or excusing the part of you that isn't yours. You'll walk away with clarity sharper than any comfort your ego ever gave you, and the freedom to live in peace and harmony without its interference. Phase 3 doesn't give you an easy pass. It gives you freedom at the cost of everything false inside of you. And the truth is, if you let it work, you'll never go back. So let's do this. This is where things get dangerous, because by phase 3, your ego knows what's happening. It's desperate, it's loud, it's sabotaging, and it's going to sabotage everything it can to pull you back. That's why this phase is not gentle, my friend. This is confrontation. This is the end of it. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you stop making peace with your ego and understand that it is your enemy, and it's important for you to strip it of the last scraps of power it has on you. Let's dive in, because there's 3 forbidden truths about letting go of your identity within the ego that you need to know. Number 1, letting go feels like death, because it is. You're not just losing habits here. You're losing the version of yourself that you thought you were building, but it was the ego that built this version of you that you identified with. It will feel like betrayal. It will feel like grief and freedom all at once. So here's what you do. You name the old identity that you're burying. Literally say goodbye to it out loud. Write it on paper, burn it, and let the ashes go outside. Let them twist in the wind. Number 2, forgiveness isn't holy until it hurts. Realize this, that the fake forgiveness your ego was leading you to believe that you were living in, where you said, I'm over it, but secretly you were keeping score, that's just ego in a halo. Real forgiveness means letting go of your favorite pain, your leverage, your right to be angry. So pick one emotion or someone's name that you've been holding on to in your heart and say their name or that emotion out loud. I release you to God's justice. Do it every time their name comes up or that emotion comes up until the sting is gone. And number 3, freedom is lonely before it's beautiful. When ego dies, so do your toxic patterns, and sometimes your toxic people as well. You will feel the void before you feel the victory. So, schedule something life-giving for that empty space. Take a walk. Listen to worship music. Journal. Go try something new. Go take yourself out on a date. It's time to add a lot of positivity into your life. You're not just losing, you're actually making room for that new life that you. So here are 3 healthy hacks that nobody talks about. Number 1, practice the 5-second confession rule. Ego loves to hide your slip-ups, your freedom. Ego loves to hide behind your slip-ups, but freedom actually loves honesty, as that breeds integrity. So when you mess up, react, or you gossip, or you find yourself spiraling, confess it. blah, 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 blah. Confess it within 5 seconds to God out loud. Ego hates quick repentance, but do it anyway. Number 2, practice radical reversal. When ego says retreat, you advance. You do exactly the opposite of what the ego is telling you. Whatever scares you the most today, do the opposite within reason. If ego says don't text them, and we're not talking about going no contact. If you're scared to text somebody and communicate with them how you're feeling, text them anyway. If ego says don't show up, show up. Train your nervous system to obey truth, not fear. And number 3, this practice of daily death and resurrection drill. What this means is every morning symbolically die to ego by praising God. And this is what helps you to rise to your freedom. You think on good thoughts for yourself in the morning before you get out of bed and hold gratitude for these good thoughts. And say out loud, today I died to fear, control, and pride as I died to all of this on the cross with Jesus. And now I rise as a new creation as I am resurrected with Jesus. Do it while standing up, breathing deep, as if your whole body is involved, and repeat this daily until it feels normal. So the question that stops you cold that I want to leave you with, just for you to consider, if letting go feels like death, have you been calling ego your life all along? Like, have you been married to your ego thinking that this was you all along and not realizing how far deep the gaslighting goes with your ego? So take a deep breath and let's be honest. You've been running with your ego for years, letting it write the rules of your life. You thought it was protecting you because that's what you have been told. It has been allegedly keeping you safe, keeping you loved, but here's the truth. It's been running you into walls, sabotaging every chance at real freedom. And now, in this moment, it knows the game is up. It's desperate, it's loud, it will fight, claw, scream, and try to pull you back, but we're not playing that game anymore. Phase 3 isn't about talking. It isn't about polite growth. It's about confrontation. It's about standing in the fire until the old version of you dies and the real you is left standing. And yes, it's going to hurt. It will feel like betrayal because you're losing the version of yourself that your ego built to survive in a world that never really wanted to see you fully alive. I want you to feel that. Let it hit your chest. The old identity, the patterns, the fear, the resentment, it's heavy because it's familiar. And the truth is we cling to the familiar because the ego is terrified of losing control. It will whisper, it will convince you that letting go is dangerous, that forgiveness is weakness, that freedom will leave you alone. Well, that's all a lie. That's ego trying to keep you small, bitter, and predictable. So we start there. Let yourself name the ego. Say out loud, this has been my prison. Speak the lie, the fear, the bitterness, the shame. Let it roll off your tongue until you can taste the weight of it. And now, just hand it over. Give it to God. Don't analyze it. Don't justify it. Say, Jesus, take this from me. I don't want it. I give it up. Imagine the hold it had on you slipping through your fingers like smoke. Feel it. Let that first taste, that's the first taste of freedom. Close your eyes and watch that part of who you called out burn in the light of glory. Now, forgiveness. Well, let's work on that because real forgiveness doesn't feel nice. It stings. It will scratch at every nerve in your chest because real forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you. It's about refusing to let your ego clutch pain as leverage over your life. Think of the people you've been holding hostage in your heart. Say their names. Say out loud, I release you to God's justice. I no longer need to punish, control, or keep the score. Feel the ego protest. That voice says, well, you can't let them off the hook. They hurt you. Well, listen to it, then ignore it because freedom is louder than fear. And loneliness, oh, it's going to come. Your ego builds your comfort zone around patterns, relationships, and dependencies that were toxic, but at least they were predictable, right? Well, letting go of them leaves a void. It's terrifying. You will feel it, but you will want to run. This Emptiness is just fertile soil for the ego. So this is where you plant the seeds of the real life waiting for you. Walk into it. Schedule something that feeds your soul. Go for a walk. Listen to worship music. Journal. Fill the space with truth and love, not old lies. Your body has been carrying all of this for far too long. The fear, the tension, the habit loops, they live in your muscles, your gut, your chest. Don't think through your ego. Move it. Punch a pillow. Jump. Run. Scream if you need to. Let the energy flow through you instead of storing it in old patterns. Your body will remember freedom before your mind can finally fully accept it. Now, here's the confession. Radical honesty is your secret weapon. Every time you catch yourself hiding, blaming, spinning a story, confess it immediately, like now. Say it out loud to God. Say it to a mirror. Say it until you don't flinch anymore. Ego hates exposure. That's why this works. Quick confession kills the habit of hiding. You do it again and again, and your nervous system rewires itself towards freedom. So every morning, you'll do your resurrection drill. Stand, breathe, speak. Today, I die to fear, pride, control, and resentment. I rise as a new creation. Do it with your whole body, with your chest open, with your spine straight, your voice raw. Do it until it's no longer a practice. It becomes a default. Your ego will hate it, but that's the point. And then there's the radical reversal. When your ego says retreat, advance, go forward. When it says hide, you show up. When it says stay small, oh, you go big or go home. The moment you obey truth instead of fear, the energy of freedom multiplies. That's not theoretical. This is the workout of the soul, and your body, heart, mind will remember it long after the session ends. You will feel the pain. You're going to feel discomfort, grief, and fear. Good. That means the ego is dying. It screams when its power is challenged. It will try to convince you that you are wrong, that you are unready, that this is too much. Laugh at it, smirk. Know that every pulse of fear is growth, is proof that you are growing, proof that you are alive, proof that freedom is real. And here's the question that you have to sit with until it shakes you to your core. If your ego has been the one keeping you safe all these years, quote unquote, have you been worshiping your prison, thinking it was protection? Let that question roll all over you. Let it echo, let it burn, and then step forward with an answer, knowing that every act of surrender, every confession, every bold reversal, every whispered release is a nail in the coffin of your old self and the foundation of the real you, the you that walks in freedom, peace, and unstoppable life. Phase 3 doesn't leave you comfortable. It leaves you awake. Awake to the lies your ego told you. Awake to the power you've been hiding from. Awake to the truth that freedom has a price and that you paid it. You came here carrying fear, pride, anger, and every excuse the enemy handed you to stay small. You faced it. You named it. You released it. You burned the old versions of yourself that were safe but died inside. You practiced forgiveness that cut deeper than any grudge. You stared into the void ego left behind, and you filled it with choice, not chaos. So your takeaway? Well, you're no longer a puppet of fear. You're no longer orbiting drama, guilt, or shame. You are over it, over defending ego, over justifying old pain, over letting corrupted versions of yourself run your life. Now you have the tools, the clarity, and the raw edge to live in search of peace and harmony without interference. You get to go live your life and do you. You are free enough to choose every day. Freedom from the ego, freedom from reaction, freedom to live alive in truth. And the kicker of all of this, your life will never be the same because you can no longer settle for anything less than what your soul knows and deserves. So phase 3 ends not with a whisper, but with a statement. You are done playing small. You are done letting ego call the shots. You are done with the enemy's shadow in your heart. You are so over it. So, my friends, listen closely because this is where the work continues. You have work to do, and I can't follow you where you need to go in your journey. But in this masterclass, we've stripped away the lies. We've faced the enemy within and realized that the you've been defending all along, well, that wasn't you at all. So now ask yourself, if I am not my ego, then who am I? Well, you're not fear. You are not shame. You are not the anger, the pride, the self-doubt that used to run your life. You are one with the divine. Your identity is rooted in Jesus, not in performance, not in comparison, not in what the world thinks of you. Your worth is stamped in eternity, and that truth doesn't shift because someone else disagrees, because life hurts, or just because old patterns try to claw back in. Now this is about living the lessons that you've learned. You take the knowledge and you apply it. You live the life of unconditional love for yourself, then for the world. No judgment, no pretending, no defending the old self. It's just open hands and open heart. But you don't have to earn this. You just have to be it. Offer grace like it's oxygen. Speak truth like it's freedom. No one can hurt you unless you give your freedom of choice away for them to hurt you. Choose peace like it's your rebellion against the old you, against the egoic nature of other people. This is how you live the heavenly experience on earth. It's in the choices that you make, the words you speak, and the forgiveness you extend to everyone, including yourself. And it's adopting the Christ-like character, patience, humbleness, generosity, honesty, and bold in love. It's studying scripture not just for knowledge, but also for your transformation. So I encourage you to study the 4 Gospels of the New Testament, the teachings of Jesus, because they will transform your life. You're looking for a closer relationship with Jesus, that's how you do it. And Christian living is living in favor with God while learning to have a real unshakable relationship with yourself, so you can have a real unshakable relationship with Jesus. So remember this, you are born again already, fully alive, fully free, fully over it. The ego's lies have no dominion here. The enemy's shadow has no power over you, and your life is meant to be lived in joy, as you live for love, for peace, and for divine expression. So every day when you feel the old patterns creep in, repeat this: I am not my ego. I am one with Jesus. I choose love. I choose life. I choose freedom. That's your aftercare. That's your armor. That is your way forward. Keep it close. Live it loud, and never ever let the world convince you otherwise. So thank you for joining me on this journey. In 3 phases, you have learned what your ego is and that it is not you. You have been given some helpful exercises to help you break the identity and make that shift as you let go of the egoic nature that you were forced to adopt. We went slow. We went in with honest and deliberate intent to expose you to the ego, and I showed you how truth and clarity can help you overcome the pull of the ego. The truth sets you free, as the ego is not your friend. The ego is of the narcissistic nature of the enemy. And God says, he who has set you free makes you free indeed. So Jesus Christ and his truth sets you free. The beauty of his cross, you have already been set free. You just now have to live it. So this is deliverance ministry right here. This is your great awakening to self. So take pride in the work that you've done. Invest in the effort into yourself. And if you need to talk, you can make a one-on-one mentoring appointment, an hour of power with me today. It's been a pleasure to help you, and please check out my videos on YouTube at Positively Spiritual by the Grace of God as we dive deeply into this subject. On that channel, we take a look at trauma from a psychological, scientific, and biblical approach. So if you have comments, questions, or suggestions, or if you want to offer your feedback from this workshop, please email me at shannongilmore@protonmail.com. Thank you so very much, and God bless you on your journey. I love you, and I am so proud of you. Be blessed.